everyone, Chris here, and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my TBR for the Sims Readathon. So the Sims Readathon has absolutely no affiliation with EA and was created by Ashley, whose channel and announcement video I will link in the description below. But it is basically a readathon that is centered around different game packs for the Sims and different townies, because there's 4 teams and you can pick one of those teams to be a part of, and they each have a specific prompt. But I will get to that at the end, which team I chose. So the first prompt is for base game, and for this you need to reread a childhood favorite or read a book in your favorite genre. And for this, I'm going to be reading Exile by Shannon Messenger. So this isn't a childhood favorite, but it is one of my favorite books that I've read in the last few years and is a reread for me, and it is in my favorite genre, which is fantasy. This is the second book in the Keeper of the Lost City series. And in that series, we're following Sophie, who in the first book finds out she's an elf and gets whisked off to a whole new world and has to adapt to the knowledge that her life wasn't what she thought it was. And I really enjoyed this series upon first read, and I am excited to be rereading it with Keeper Along, which is hosted by Pris from Pris Sprints, which I will link in the description below as well. And I thought this made sense to put on my TBR for this prompt, since it's a fantasy, a reread, and a favorite, even if it's not a childhood favorite. So next up is the prompt for Living Large, which is to read a book over 500 pages. And for this, I'm going to be reading The Name of All Things by Jen Lyons. So this is the second book in the A Chorus of Dragons series, and it clocks in at just over 570 pages, so over 500 pages. I really enjoyed the first book in the series, so I'm excited to dive back into this story and to see what happens next in this series. Next up is House Party, and the prompt for that is multiple POVs, and for this I'm going to be reading Sky Song by Abby Elphinstone. This book follows Eska and Flint as they're battling an Ice Queen, and we get chapters from both their points of view, so there's my multiple points of view. This is a polar fantasy that I'm really looking forward to checking out, and I've liked another book by Abby Elphinstone in the past, so I'm hoping I enjoy this one as well. Next up is Hot Date, Read a Romance, and for this I'm going to be reading The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas, and all I know about this book is it is a fake dating romance, and I believe our 2 characters aren't necessarily fond of each other, but other than that, I don't know much, but I'm looking forward to checking it out. I like the fake dating trope, so hopefully I enjoy this book. Next up is Vacation, and for this you need to read a book that has a journey or a trip or is set in a different country than you. And for this I'm going to be reading Rise of the World Eater by Jamie Littler, and this is the third and final book in the Froststart series, and in each book so far Ash has definitely gone on a journey, so I'm assuming this one will be no different. I absolutely can't wait to read the end of this trilogy and find out how Ash's journey ends, so I'm excited to have this on my Sims TBR. Next up is Unleashed, and for this you need to read a book that features an animal, and for this I'm going to be reading Ember and the Ice Dragons by Heather Fawcett. And Ember is actually a dragon that was turned into a human girl, and she ends up in the Antarctic to help control her growing tendency to burst into flames at certain temperatures, and ends up finding out about the Winter Glass Hunt, which is a yearly tradition in which rare ice dragons are hunted for their jeweled scales. So dragons are my animal in this book, and this is another polar fantasy that I'm really excited to read, and I'm excited to see what happens with Ember and the ice dragons. Next up is Superstar, and for this you need to read a book that has a famous main character, and there's lots of different ways you can fulfill it, but for me I'm going to be reading If You Ask Me and Of Course You Won't by Betty White, and Betty White is obviously a celebrity, so this is an autobiography. This is one of the many ways you can fulfill this prompt, and I've been trying to read nonfiction, and this was the book I picked for the month of February, so it seemed like a no-brainer to stick it on this TBR for famous main character. Next up is Making Magic, Read a Fantasy. And for this I'm going to read Jade City by Fonda Lee. This is the first book in the Greenbone saga, and I don't know much about this. It says, Jade City begins an epic tale of family and honor, the godfather with magic and kung fu set in an Asia-inspired fantasy metropolis. Like I said, that's basically all I know about it, and I know several people have read this recently that I follow and have absolutely loved this series, so I'm excited to be giving it a try, and this makes another chunky book that I have added to my Sims TBR. And lastly is my team prompt, and I went with Team Land Grab, and for this you need to read an opulent book. which could mean foiled cover, fancy edges, metallic title, just anything you think is opulent. And I'm going to be reading The Whiz Pop Chocolate Shop by Kate Sanders because there's a lot of foiling on this cover. It says, Oz and Lily's family have moved a house into a chocolate shop. It's the perfect home apart from the small fact that it's haunted. When they discover enchanted chocolate hidden in the shop, they realize that the Whiz Pop chocolate shop is hiding more than one spooky secret. Before too long, evil villains are after them, keen to get their hands on an ancient recipe for dangerous magic. Can Oz, Lily, and their magical cat save their new home and its priceless chocolate mysteries? So I'm really excited to have a smaller middle grade fantasy on my TBR, and I think the cover is very opulent. So this is most of my TBR for the Sims Readathon. Are you participating in the Sims Readathon? If so, let me know which team you picked in the comment section below. All of my social media, including my Discord, are linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me about any of these books or books in general. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me green heart emojis, like this video, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!